Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Nightmare Road. I, of course, am your host, Decon, here with the very bloody and very disturbing Laura Slasher. And and this episode is brought to you by Loot by Lottie, so you guys can go ahead and get yourself a box. If you guys use the promo code Lucky Loot, you guys get temper. Oh, there it is. See, never mind. I'm irrelevant. See how technology works?
I don't need you. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Well, yeah. So today's episode is a good one. It's on an individual that I believe has shaped history, and he's contributed so much to. Oh, never mind. It's Ed Gein. Jeez.
I guess it depends who you are.
Yeah. Well, in a way, he's inspired a lot of characters in the cinema,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, for example, Psycho. For the what the hell's his name? Norman Bates from
Hmm.
Psycho. Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Buffalo Bob from Silence of the Lambs.
Hmm. All crazy.
Ah, all crazy. El Descarnado from I forgot that Mexican movie. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It has Pedrito Fernandez in it. He's in everything. So, anyway, so this guy, it's one of those things where a lot of people have so much sympathy for him. Um, a lot of people call him like misunderstood.
Hmm.
He's just, but so let's start from the very beginning. Okay.
Very
Okay. From the very beginning.
starting
So,
his mom.
yeah, I was going to say his birth. He was birthed, and
Well,
all the animals came forward to see him. All those people from where the hell's he from?
um, Plainfield. What was that? Like Wisconsin or something?
Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Plainfield? Is that what it was
You know,
called?
I believe so.
Yeah. All the animals came.
Um,
Like he was Simba.
yeah, he was Simba. Only they're all a bunch of like hillbillies, like missing teeth. They all showed up because they thought it was a kegster. They're like, no, it's just some ugly kid. Um, you know what's interesting about that town is that there's nothing there, like nothing remarkable. He's the one that put that place on the map, like
Yeah.
many years later.
Yeah. That sucks.
Um, well, yeah. So what's interesting about that place is I don't know if the building is still there, but they had a motel.
Mm.
And the motel was basically a shed, and the shed was the description was I believe it's still there, but the description was 8 by 12. I think that's all it said, and
The storage container.
it was a storage container. And then there was a bunch of beds, and then a pile of blankets on the floor. So people would show up and they would just sleep there, and that was considered a motel. You know,
Like a
pretty cool.
hostel.
Like what?
Like a hostel.
More like the kid from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, like his grandpa, how there was like all these people sharing a bed, which in reality, that old guy was the villain of the movie because you know,
He was faking it the
he
whole time.
he was faking it the whole time, and not only that, because he was laying in bed, he's like, I can't get out of bed. Finally, he gets the ticket,
Yeah.
and instead of being like, what was the kid's name? Was it Charlie?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you better not laugh at me because I'll get wilder than Gene when I get on the scene. Anyway, so he goes up and then the kid gets the ticket, right?
Hmm.
And he said, "We did it!" Like
Yeah, he didn't do
it's
anything.
like yeah, you didn't do anything. You just literally laid in
Grandpa
bed.
has been sitting there
What
for
the hell did you do? Something here. Go have a heart attack. Like,
relax. Jeez.
oh, sorry. Anyway, so
A little
yeah,
lazy.
so well, he was lazy. So his parents, right? A woman with such a fancy name, good old Augusta, was
Jeez.
well, a good old Augusta. What was his dad's name?
Um, I don't
Something
remember.
stupid. something stupid. It doesn't matter. He plays a very small role
Yeah.
in this story. The only thing we know about him was that
So
he was a lazy alcoholic. Um,
his name was
he was a
George.
George George Gein. What an idiot! He was a lazy alcoholic. He, was the mother's punching bag until he got liquid courage, and then there was stories where, and this is coming from Ed Gein, of course, and some of the neighbors, um, how when he would get enough liquid courage in him, he would just knock her unconscious. And
Hmm.
I mean, he would, and I don't mean like get out of here, woman, because remember abuse, discipline.
Um,
Um,
okay.
so So it wasn't any of these. He would like punch her like a guy, and
Yeah.
then she would just flop and she'd lay there, and the kids would like try to like pick her up, and then he'd just leave her there. But generally, she was the aggressor 90% of the time. She would, she would go ahead and she would verbally abuse him. She would hit him with things. There was a story where she threw like hot coffee on him one day
Hmm.
because the dad was lazy. He was a good for nothing. So
Sitting in
she made him his morning coffee so he can go get ready for work. He refused to get out of bed, so this coffee that she made for him, she poured it on him to get him out of bed. And then, so there was these mines that would take in like people. She hired people to beat his ass and then force him to work. Eventually, her family, I guess, did they own like a chain of grocery stores?
They had one grocery store, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, it was a one, and then he's like, hire him, and then he, worked the grocery store.
Yeah. I think they sold it. Um sorry, I'm gonna sneeze.
Don't do it.
Okay.
So, so they ended up just selling it, right? So anyway, so here you have, this alcoholic, you know, would beat up the wife, would beat up the kids when they got too big for him to beat up. He would just yell at them and degrade them. You know, um, now his brother, his older brother, was the hardworking one. He was the one that was reliable.
Yeah.
Um, but you can still tell there was something wrong with him, probably due to the emotional abuse and physical abuse. But he was more outgoing than his brother.
Yeah. He was
Um,
more he was less I guess like
Creepy.
yeah. Or just like less obsessed with his mom.
Yeah.
'Cause he was
And
Dean was obsessed with his mom, like insane obsessed. Like after she died and like after he got caught and everything, like he would talk about her and he'd just be like crying, talking about her.
yeah.
And he
And it was so.
hated her and was obsessed with her at the same time.
You think he hated her?
Yeah. I mean,
So
she was like, she put all these things in his head. I think uh, when I mean, you get to a certain age, I think that like you kind of realize, what's going on. But you know, I think he was just so weird already like, because of it all.
yeah. So, man. So what's interesting is she was a woman that was very twisted. Uh, she utilized scripture to educate them, to discipline them. But when you actually read what she's talking about, or you hear what she was saying, and then you read the scripture in context, you realize that I don't know if she just didn't understand, or if she was just like making up, you know what I mean? Because she would quote certain things that doesn't mean at all what she was telling them,
Yeah.
you know, and
She was very religious, or religious to herself, I guess. I don't know. She was just very extreme when it came to it. Like it was the whole like what's her name? Bobby Boucher's mom. She's like women are
yeah,
the devil, like blah blah blah. That's
God, the
how.
devil,
Yeah,
you're
that's how.
the devil, mama.
Oh
Just
boy, yeah. Well, he kind of sounded like that.
yeah,
Um,
so,
yeah,
that's what he sounded like.
that's how she was with
And
Sandra.
what's interesting is they tell a story that there was a somebody across the street. They went to the grocery store, and there was a guy who was beating a puppy to death with a stick. Right? He was just beating it, and then they were standing outside, and Augusta just like pretended like, I don't know if she didn't notice that he was beating this puppy to death. This
She
woman
noticed.
comes out.
Yeah, she noticed, but that's not what bothered her.
Yeah, that's not what bothered her. This woman comes out and she's begging him to stop beating this puppy. And then she immediately covers the eyes of the boys and she starts freaking out because this couple was unwed.
Mhm.
And then that's what she noticed. It wasn't the bleeding puppy on the ground. She even called the police.
She died
There's
days later.
the what?
She died a couple days after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she had like
Oh,
a
I
heart
didn't know it
attack.
was.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know it was that soon.
yeah.
So, Gein had like an interesting thing where he mistook a lot of his mother's aggression as kindness. Um, so there's a story where he was out in public with his mother and he was young, and his mother starts screaming at him, and she calls him a good for nothing and you'll never amount to anything. And she says, "How did I know that you were gonna be here? You never disappoint. Here you are, never amounts to anything, you good for nothing." And Ed Gein retells that story just the way the neighbors told the story, that he started crying of happiness because his mom said, "You never disappoint." And out of that whole verbal abuse, he took one thing that out of context could be seen as a compliment.
Hmm.
And he was crying, at tears of joy. And everybody's like, "What the hell?" You
Yeah,
know?
there was a
And
story. Oh, go ahead.
and later when he was institutionalized, he was talking about his mom and how wonderful she was. And then he told that story just the way the neighbors told it, and everybody's like, "What?" And he says, "Yeah, Mama had the sweetest words, and she said I never disappointed her. You never disappoint. Here you are, you good for nothing."
Yeah,
So
there was a story about when he was like a baby. I don't know how he would. I don't know how old he was exactly, like, or how he would remember, but apparently when he was a baby, he was like about to fall down the stairs. He was at the top of the stairs. He was gonna fall, and she grabbed his arm and like saved him and was screaming at him. Like, I don't know what she could be screaming at a baby, but she was screaming at him. And the only thing I guess that like he could think of was that she caught him and she like saved him. And so he was just so
like
excited.
happy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like
His mom,
she
like,
loves me.
yeah, he
So
couldn't understand, why she was screaming.
yeah. So anyway, so here you have this wonderful woman. So she dies,
Hmm.
and let's see. So when Geen died, he became damn. It's kind of hard to describe him because you get stories from the neighbors how they each tell stories about how Geen was a sissy, how Geen wished he was a woman, and not just any woman. He says that he wished he could be his mother.
Yeah,
He wished he could be her, and how he admired her, and how her shape was. And
that's what his skin suit was for.
yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. So
Well,
anyway, so let's go to his brother's death.
mhm.
Okay, was his mother alive at this point, or did she die?
um, I am pretty sure she was alive because after the dad died, the brother and Ed Gein took like odd jobs to kind of help. Um,
Yeah,
which Ed Gein was like a babysitter and like all these. It was weird.
yeah. He was a babysitter. He house sit for people.
He liked it,
Um,
babysitting, because he related to kids
to,
more.
to kids more.
Yeah.
What was interesting was that he recalled, like he was talking about how when his father died, um, the obituary was like he was a loving father, a loving husband. He may not have been good at a lot of things. He may have failed, but at least he tried, and he was a perfect example of somebody that did not let times get this whole long thing. And when Augusta died, they said Augusta will be survived by her two children, and that was it.
Well, people didn't like her.
So people hated her, and then Gein was like, you know, why, how come they wrote this long thing about my dad, but not about her? And she was a wonderful woman. And I think he complained to the newspaper. He was like, how come?
I don't know how he thought that. Like I know there,
And
there's something there that's not right, but like this lady would sit in the
she was
living room.
mean.
She would sit them in the living room as like old men. I think he was
Thir-
34 and the other was like 30.
yeah,
Uh,
almost 39, almost 40.
yeah, and she would sit there and read the Bible to them and like tell them, like all these things are so wrong. And then she would walk them through the process of masturbation. And I guess like she would
Yeah,
tell them, like, this is the only way to do it because if not, you know, I don't know, the devil's gonna get you or whatever.
yeah. She called it the. She was talking about the curse of I forget Abimelech or something. I don't know. So she would, yeah. So she would tell him like, you have to masturbate. You have to, which is crazy.
That's
Don't
insane.
don't let don't let a woman contaminate you. Once you find a woman, they will contaminate you. So that happened, right? He complained to the newspaper. He was like, how come? And the excuse they gave him was, well, we didn't have enough room because we had to talk about the weather. So it's like, okay. So anyway, so his brother dies. His brother died. They were out there in the field one day,
Hmm.
and he had an injury to his head, to his
He had
forehead.
an injury to his head, but they were like, "Oh, it was a heart attack or heart failure or something."
Yeah.
Mm,
Um,
But I
but
mean,
they
they
were
were out there
burning.
like burning things. Yeah.
Yeah, they were burning. And one of the things that this is my take on it. Maybe he struck his brother, and a brother fell unconscious, and he continued to burn things, and smoke inhalation ended up killing him.
Heart failure.
Um, uh,
Heart failure.
well, because they couldn't, they said heart attack, but back then they couldn't really tell
Well, I
because,
mean, they assumed, I think, because that's what the dad died from.
yeah, but again, it's like there was a brush fire, and and if you ever been in a brush fire, there's a lot of smoke.
Yeah.
Um,
So they found, injuries to his head, and they were like,
Heart failure.
yeah, might as well.
Um, so I think that he might have hit him in the head. Brother fell unconscious, and the fire was burning, smoke inhalation.
I
And
think
it's not like he called somebody to help him right away. He's been dead for hours.
he was dead for hours. Yeah. They're like, hey, like he's been he's been gone, dude. Like, what's the problem?
So a lot of the things that people talk about is after his brother's death. Um, it seemed like it didn't bother him. Like he still, was the same old, yeah, same old guy.
He didn't care.
No, he didn't care.
Hmm.
Same dude, walking, beep bopping along. And let's move to the first murder.
Okay. The first one, the the bar owner.
Yes.
So
Um,
that was Mary.
she was somebody with a reputation that she was a hardworking woman, but she cursed like a sailor. She was from a different country, and there was rumors that they believe was started by Augusta, that she ran a brothel and that she was a prostitute.
Yeah. Yeah. So the murder didn't happen until after his mom was dead, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but when they talked to Ed Gein about her death and about what happened to her, he had no remorse. He says, "Well, she had a filthy mouth and she ran a brothel in Chicago."
Well, the
And
thing
it's
is,
like,
he had a little crush on her.
yeah, but
You
it's so gross because when he didn't have a crush on her the way that people think, like,
know,
oh, he finds her attractive.
he was very nice to him. It's just
Yeah,
he had a
do,
well
do you remember what he said?
about her,
Yeah,
um, like about her body.
yep. He said she has the same body type as my mother.
Yeah. So he had a crush on this lady, and he was like, yeah, like I guess since the mom had been like dead or whatever, and he's like, this lady is sin, basically, and all this is wrong. So he had to get rid of her. Put him on the
Yeah, put him on the chair. He's too damn big.
try.
I could try it. Roland, come here. Come on, don't be scared. You're not gonna hurt yourself. Come on.
No whining for him.
No, because he's wandering around.
Yeah, well,
Okay, he's trying to figure out. He's like, how do I hop up there? He's old. He's an old dog.
those are the best ones. They're cute.
No, they're not. They're disgusting. They're old. They
True.
start going deaf. They start going blind. They're like old people in general. They waste your
But they're
time.
dogs, so they're
They're
better.
boring. They're boring. Anyway, so yeah, so she dies. He had no remorse. He was like, well, she had a filthy mouth. She ran a brothel, you know,
Shot her in the back of the
and
head.
when shot her in the back of the head. And what was his excuse?
About what do you mean?
How did he shot her? What happened? Like, do you remember what the?
What the excuse was?
Yeah, because he didn't say flat out. I went over there and shot her. Is that
Mhm.
or is that a different woman where he said that he accidentally shot her
That's
because he was?
Bernice, I think is her name. The hardware store one. I really like to kill these people while
Okay.
they're working.
Yeah, well, I mean, his dad was lazy, so um, he was like, "You remind me that you're better than my father." So, so you had her death, right?
Yeah, that was the other one.
Yeah. And okay, so with her, she died, and people were looking for her, and they found a trail of blood, and it looked like she was dragged off somewhere.
Yeah,
And
he
it,
put her in the van and like and took her.
yeah, so and he took her. Okay, and did he help look for her? Was he like, "I'll help you look,"
I
because
don't.
she went missing?
They went to his house. The police went to his house and were like, "Hey, like, were you at the bar last night?" And he was like, "Yeah, I was there." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, did you see anything weird?" And he's like, "Nope." And they're like, "All right. Well, see you later."
He's like, no, no, I didn't
See,
see anything
because he
weird.
was so
There
like
was
small
there
and
was no mirrors.
they all described him as an oddball, like just oddball.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I guess just didn't think, like, oh, little Ed over there in isolation. Of course, he's not gonna do anything.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's what was weird is that you look at him and he was very small and he was very frail.
mhm.
Um, and the way he spoke, he had such a way of
Yeah,
speaking. And people, like I said, people called him a sissy. People said that when he was growing up, all the men went hunting and he didn't want to hunt. He said that when they would show them the trophy, like the kill, they're like, "Hey, look, I got this buck." Blah blah. He didn't want to look at it, you know. And they're like, "Ah,
with
Ed
the
Gein,
villain.
the Ed Gein, the sissy." So look at him.
I mean,
Looks like James Franco.
no, he doesn't. Stop it.
He looks like James Franco if he got like blended with Elmer Fudd.
He looks like Elmer Fudd.
James Franco mixed.
No,
So right, so that was Ed, and Ed, and he would go to the store and get all these cans of pork and beans, and
beans. That's all he ate.
pork. That's all he ate. Like he was Rorschach from Watchmen.
What-
So so he so that's what he would do, and people would invite him over for dinner because they felt bad for him because he was alone. They're like, this guy, this poor bastard. He's by himself. So they would invite him to dinner, and then he would show up, and he had like a little bag with him, and then they're sitting there trying to make conversation. He fucking opens up a can of beans,
Can of beans. I
a
think
can of beans, and
yeah, yeah. It's weird, and I know that they fed him. I think it was the night of the second lady that he killed. Like after he uh, did everything that he did to her body.
yeah,
He went to go like have dinner at like his neighbor's house.
Yeah. There's like, oh, and he shows up. So a second woman dies, goes missing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they find the same thing: puddle of blood, drag. The body's been dragged.
Took the money out of the register.
You robbed her,
Might as well.
killed her.
He's already
Yeah,
dead.
killed her. Yeah, she's already dead. Might as well rob her.
Should've
Hey,
got them.
Machine Gun Kelly over there. Um, so he ended up Roland. Come on, man. So he ended up, whatever. Lady goes missing.
Hmm.
So they start putting all these clues together, right?
So the son of the woman was like, "Hey, somebody saw Ed's truck, like driving around the back of the store, or the hardware store's truck. My bad. They saw the hardware store's truck like drive out, and the lady came like back into the store. Ed went into the store. They saw him driving around there, so they went to go ask him, or I guess like check his whatever, and they found um they found the lady. Um,
Damn.
they found her. They found her decapitated, like hanging upside down, uh, with a crossbar at her ankle,
Crossbar.
and then she was
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah. So yeah. So what's interesting is you have somebody like Ed Gein who didn't like the sight of blood, didn't like the sight of, and then here he is, and he perfectly dressed a human being,
yep.
and and that's what's interesting to me is he utilized the tools that you use to dress a deer, you
Hmm.
know, and he knew how to use every single piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And there he was, like he was the predator, like a skinless body.
Ugh,
And
the
and
skins.
what was crazy was the fact that the cops went in there and they went into the house, and then um first officer goes in there and he's looking around and he's like, all right. And he walked past everything, right? Until he finally realized what he was looking at, and then he ran out of the house. And the second officers that show up see him run out of the house and they start vomiting. So
I mean, there's stuff everywhere.
yeah, and I could only imagine. And so the way that his house was set up, by the way, was there was a summer kitchen and then there was the regular kitchen. And the summer kitchen was separate than than the other kitchen, and it was meant to be like a smaller space. There's more ventilation because it's supposed to help you stay cooler. They didn't have air conditioning, so it was more aerated. It was a completely separate thing. And they started looking, and they noticed that a lot of the house was boarded up, and only a bedroom was used, and that kitchen. And they
Yeah,
started,
they said that only one. So the kitchen was like really messed up. It was like
yeah,
if put it on here actually. It was like if a hoarder lived there.
yeah. Look at that.
Yeah,
But
that's
look at
insane.
that beautiful kitchen.
I mean, if it wasn't like that, you know?
Well, I mean, if it wasn't in that condition.
Yeah. Um so they said that the rest of his house was pretty like normal looking because it was a nice house. I mean, like the outside,
Yeah,
like
yeah. It's a nice country house.
mhm. And so uh-oh. and and so yeah, they said that the rest of his house was like pretty okay kept, and it was just that kitchen that was like destroyed.
Yeah, they said that the rest of the house seemed like it was untouched. Like as soon as his mom died, everything just burned it up. And
Yeah,
he's like, all right, it's like she's still here.
it's kind
You
of.
know.
I mean, he wanted her to be.
So and then yeah, so then the first officer describes how he didn't know what he was looking at. So he went in there, he said, and noticed the mess, but it took him a minute for his brain to adjust what was going on. And he says that once he realized what he was looking at, it's like everything just clicked into place. Um, do you have there what the description of what was in that kitchen?
Yeah, I have. Well, it wasn't just the kitchen; it was everywhere because like they looked in his
Yeah,
bedroom and all that. I have. Do you want me to like say some of them?
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, you sick bastard.
Okay. Do you not want me to say it?
No, not you. It's
Oh,
on
I
Ed
have it on the
Gein.
list. Huh?
No,
Oh,
Ed
I was
Ed,
like,
Ed Gein.
geez,
Gee,
you
the
asked.
hell?
Um. Well,
I
first of
hate
all,
it.
he. First of all, he
Welcome to
had.
Radio Road.
Can't do this again. Look, I don't know how many times we've talked about that movie, and every time it's more and more ridiculous. So talk about it tomorrow.
Movie
Um.
sucks. Unimpressed. So go ahead.
He had a wastebasket made out of human skin, of course. So why wouldn't it be? Human skin covering several chairs. So I don't know if he had like covers for chairs or if he just had, as a big sheet over.
Huh. I never thought of that.
Yeah, like was it just like, was it like splayed out over the chairs or
Yeah.
a little like decorative backing?
Be quiet, Titan.
He had skulls on his bedposts, which, if they weren't real, that would have been fine. Um, Female skulls with the tops sawn off. And some of them, we mentioned the pork and beans thing and how he only
Yeah.
ate pork and beans, which is not really the issue. The issue is the bowl. Uh,
What
the
he was
issue,
eating it out of?
yeah, because it was a skull.
It was
So
a human skull. He would chop the
what?
top and use it as a bowl. His
See,
whole damn house
we
looked like
have one of those, but it's not real.
the Halloween store. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Um, Mary Hogan's face. He made a mask out of her face, and he left it in a paper bag. Just different masks. He made leggings from human leg skin. Just
Yeah,
great.
literal leggings.
Yep, literal leggings.
Literal leggings.
This one's weird. He had a pair of lips on window shade drawstring.
Yeah, it
Ha-
gets worse.
Wow, did that? Okay, a lampshade. Oof, from the skin of a human face. So it was just a face on a.
It, it, it gets much worse.
Yeah. He had fingernails. He had Bernice Warren's heart in a bag in front of his stove, which is nice. He didn't cook it, not yet. So he had a corset made from a female torso, skinned from shoulders to waist.
Oh man, that's so sick.
He wanted to make a
You know
skin.
what?
He wanted to be his mom. Is what he.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's where the inspiration for Buffalo Bob and the famous, skin suit came from
That's why
this
he needed the
individual.
skin moisturized.
Well, yeah, exactly. It perched the lotion
All
on her
dry.
skin.
That's great. You don't want to put that on.
Right? Was she a big old fat person? So, um, what's weird is that then some of the neighbors began to notice that Ed loved, these. So they used to be these things, almost like the penny dreadfuls. So they were just articles of just horrific crimes, and
Hmm.
Ed would come up and he'd be like, "Did you see that somebody came around and started hacking these people?" And he would like tell these stories to people, like the dinner conversation. People are like, "What the hell?"
He
But
was a big reader.
yeah, he was a reader of horrible things,
Yep. He,
and so that was dinner conversation for him. Did
I
you
mean, it
hear
is for
that?
me.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's because you're mentally ill.
I mean,
So
Just kidding. Don't do that. Don't before you start.
Yeah, well, jeez. So, all right, it's still not the worst thing in that damn kitchen.
What do you have? Am I missing
What do
one?
I have?
Yeah, what do you have in your kitchen? Come on, Ed Gein, tell me what you have in your kitchen.
So he had a box
Oh, yeah, I skipped over that one.
filled filled with female genitalia,
9 of them.
9 vaginas.
He was a
So he also talked about how the shoebox was the perfect box for it. He had a box of boxes. So the shoebox was the what?
Hmm?
Are you okay?
Yeah. Are you okay?
No.
No.
Um, so he had a box of boxes. So he talked to
Stop saying that.
saying what?
Oh,
So
nothing.
he had this box, right? He has a
Mm,
shoe box,
of
box of
boxes.
boxes. Um, so he's talking about how they asked him, or like, why did you? They said, they said, why did you use a shoebox for these boxes? And he says, at first I used the cereal box. He says, but that was too deep. I would have to reach on in there, stick my whole hand in there, and reach in there, and that was really inconvenient. So the shoebox was perfect because everything was just perfect where I could reach. So could you imagine he's over there reaching for a box of
I mean, if you have them
Lipios?
if
He's
you
like
have them in a
pouring them into a skull bowl.
yeah, I mean, if you have them in a cereal box and you want a specific one, like you're gonna have to, you know,
You have to sort them. That's exactly what he said.
like
You
if
have
you
to,
want to wear a certain one, you're gonna have to be looking through,
yeah, you have
sort
to
them,
sort through. You
lay
have to
them
get
out.
one of those skull bowls, and you're in there pouring it like the world's worst cereal.
Yeah, like which, yeah,
Yeah,
can't
like oh,
fast enough.
pouring a bowl of sardinios. So anyway, what
Hmm? Nothing. Go ahead.
what anyway, so eh, Roland, come on, no, get out of there. Sorry, guys. So right, so he talked about it so calmly,
Yeah,
you know, and so
weird.
they find all this stuff. They find the furniture had a skin, everything, had a body parts, all kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I believe they also found like one of his mother's dresses like on the bed. So I don't know if he what I don't know what was up with that. So anyways, so he goes and he stands trial. They deem him insane and they take him to a mental institution. This is where you're gonna spend the rest of your life. And Ed Gein liked it. He Oh, I lost your audio there. Can you hear me?
No.
Yep, now I can hear you.
Okay.
So
Don't know.
so and resuming. So yeah, so he liked it there. He was like, well, I got clean sheets, he says, and I get 3 square meals a day, and
Hmm.
I've never been happier. And the staff says that Ed Gein would always be smiling, would
Yeah,
always be happy, and he was having a good old time when
great
he
time.
was just a great time. So he basically, I think they were putting him through programs, and I think he was eligible for parole, which he was like, no.
Yeah,
So 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 they also informed him that the neighbors burned his house down, that his house burned down, and they
yeah. So
believe,
they I don't think they know exactly who it was because they had them out there like or they had like different, I guess, people, or like, I don't know, fire department or something, like they were gonna go burn all of the waste. Um and while they were doing that, I guess like the day that they were gonna go and like burn the rest of it or whatever. The whole thing had gone.
It was burned down, and they had a break. They sat him down, and they're like, Ed, the jeez, damn, that is literally burned to the ground.
To the ground. Yeah.
To the ground. That's insane. So
The whole thing.
they sat him down, and they broke the news to him. They're like, Ed, your childhood home burned down, and they were expecting a reaction from him, and he looks and he says, "Yeah, might as well." That was it. That was his only reaction. So, Ed Gein, lived out the rest of his life in this hospital. He died in the '80s, didn't he?
He died. He was 77. I don't know exactly what year it was. I could look it up, but he died due to respiratory failure.
So there's actually, I think it's only one interview with him. And if you hear him talking, he has such a soft voice. It's just like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's so weird. So anyway, so that happened. He died or whatever. So while he's in the hospital, the neighbors are making up jokes about him. Some people are making up stories about him. I saw him. They were calling him that he was a cannibal. They made songs. You guys can all look this up. They made songs about him. They said, I saw him over, and the stories were so ridiculous. They called him like the ghoul of blah, 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 the butcher.
He always said, though, that he did not, there was no necrophilia, there was no cannibalism, he says.
Yep, he just wanted to be his mom.
But that's what he says. I mean,
yeah, but who knows? He's crazy.
Crazy.
So anyway, so then they would even publish jokes in the newspaper about Ed Gein.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them always stuck with me. It was so funny. So they said, why does Ed always keep his house, his stove burning during the wintertime?
Why?
So that his furniture doesn't get goosebumps.
So disgusting. That's so gross. I mean, maybe the lamp would have never.
No, there's a light bulb. So yeah, so that was Ed Gein. I mean, such an interesting guy.
He made jokes about Mary, or he made a joke about Mary all the time, because they knew that he liked her, and so they would tell him. They told him something like, if you I guess like talk to her more or whatever, like she wouldn't be, working or something, like she'd be at home like making you food. And he made this joke like, oh, she's at the house right now, because she was.
She literally was.
Yeah, and he would make that joke about Bernice too, I think. Like,
jeez.
He made that. Well, I think he probably made it once before he, got caught. He got caught pretty fast.
Can you imagine that that's the only punchline he knows? So they say dumb shit like, what time is it? She's at home right now. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
I mean,
what the hell? What do you mean?
oh,
What is it? Hey, looks like it's gonna rain there, Ed. He's like, she's at my house right now. And they're like, all
why didn't he
right.
make an umbrella?
What?
Why didn't he make an umbrella?
Like he's the penguin
I could have made an umbrella out of
skin. So he's walking around. You're fucking sick. Holy shit.
What? Like I did it? It was him. I didn't do all
No,
that.
you're giving him ideas. You're like, oh, why don't you make an umbrella?
He was already crafty.
Oh, we're trash can out of humans. Yeah, why doesn't he make a scarf? So he's
Well, he already had a corset. He didn't need it.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he had a. You think he's gonna make it out of boxes?
No, he liked to wear those. He liked to wear them under his clothes.
He was. Oh, I thought you meant like on his face.
No,
Like
He
You
likes
know
to
those party,
wear
you know
them.
those, you know those party favors that they were like the fake lips and you put them and they go. Woo, woo, woo. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
that's what he would do.
He would pour the cereal box into his bowl. He's like, I think I'll put this on. He puts it on. It's like the big lips.
God, so gross. And you're saying
You-
I'm sick. I'm sick. Look at what you're saying right now.
anyway, oh holy shit. Anyways, guys, thank you for joining us on this episode. So disgusting. You guys should all be ashamed of yourselves.
Yeah, especially you.
Damn, I'm over here dying. Um, boxes. So anyways, guys, thank you guys. Oh, we got new merch up, new designs. You guys go ahead and check that out. Um, every shirt that you buy, the money goes to me. So anyway, so so all right, you done? Okay, all right. Well, this episode's over. So, anyways, guys, remember to always look both ways, especially if you find yourselves on box of boxes.
Oh my